Our Bible readings taken from another one of the Psalms, Psalm 139, verses 5 to 12. David writes, "You hem me in, behind and before. You have laid your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you're there. If I make my bed in the depths, you're there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you." Let's meet God. That's all right, it holds my weight. Being a good scientist, I need to do this probably 100 times, but let's try it one more time. It holds my weight. There's a reliability and a predictability about this chair. I can trust it. But David is talking about something different. He's talking about a relationship that he can trust. How many relationships have you got that you can trust? So that, in effect, 100 times you can sit on that relationship and the leg won't fall off. I suspect it's quite a small number. And even then you're thinking, well, it could be. Now, David had a hard life. He was frequently fighting battles. And when he wasn't fighting battles with his enemies that pushed in on every side, he was fighting battles within his own group of followers who weren't that reliable, and also fighting battles within himself. So it's in that context that we read these verses in Psalm 139. You see, David isn't just writing some nice words, but a reality that he has experienced, a God who is utterly reliable. Always present, we read, always reliable. Our experience of God maybe for us fluctuates up and down according to circumstance. So when it's a nice sunny day, oh, God's wonderful. When it's January and freezing cold and wet, God's less wonderful. I trivialize this, but let's admit it, most of us have this very flexible view of the almightiness of God and his reliability. So if we can hold fast to this truth that God is utterly reliable, and when life sucks, to just remind ourselves of that fact, then maybe gradually we'll grow into that truth that David knew. David writes that that God laid his hand on him. In other words, it's a very personal one-to-one thing. And not only that, but further on in the psalm it says it's his right hand. Now, within the culture of the day, the right hand was the hand of power and strength and authority. David knew that the God that he knew laid his right hand on him. He goes on to speak about God being behind and before. I was musing about this and thinking, God behind us. Well, yeah, God watching my back, I like that. But also maybe it means that God was involved in all of that past, which frankly for all of us is good and bad and just plain ugly. God still there through all that. He lays his hand upon me. He is behind me and before me. That's a sort of picture of protection, but also that he's going before me. Remember about the 23rd Psalm, the image of God like a shepherd, and he leads his sheep. So this is about the God that we can trust to lead us into the future. That's enough for a moment. We're going to sit with that. It's so easy to hurry on past these enormous truths that, frankly, we need to have repeated to us again and again, and to receive again and again, so that they sink deep within us. So let's be quiet and just allow God to remind us that his hand is upon us, that he's behind us and before us, utterly trustworthy. Drink in the truth, hold to it, relate it to your life today. Your present, your past, your future. Meeting God is very healing. You hem me in, behind and before. You've laid your hand upon me. And then David goes on, such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. Or as the Message puts the same few verses, this is too much, too wonderful. I can't take it in. I rather like that. To realize just how big this love of God, this care of God is. His enfolding love, his hand upon us love. It's easy for us to just sort of float over this when we should be blown away by the truth that God cares for me and you and you and you. And then moving on in this passage, we see another aspect of this caring God. His inescapable presence. Is there any place I can go to avoid your spirit, to be out of your sight? And so he goes on over the next few verses saying, no, not really. Wherever he goes, God's got there before him. However much we rebel, however much we determinedly walk away from God's presence, he's there before us, wherever we end up. And it's more than just present with us, because this psalm speaks about the nature of our God is to protect us and to guide us. And we're going to finish today with verse 12. It's a fact. Darkness isn't dark to you. Night and day, darkness and light, they're all the same to you. It's a bit like that reference in Psalm 23 again about feasting in the presence of our enemies. I don't know what your future is like, but mine's pretty unknown all the time. And you can sort of picture that unknown future as being dark. Unknown, dark. Not unknown and not dark to our God. Unknown future, yeah. Unknown to God, no. So let's rest with that whatever today holds and the unknown of our future, God's there in it. And he's the sort of God who cares, places his hand upon us, and is behind us and before. Amen.